Senator Creighton, you're recognized for a motion, and you may speak if you wish on final passage.
Thank you, Mr. President. Make a motion for final passage of Senate Bill 2, but I would like to reserve comments for closing.
That would be now.
Mr. President, I had a short, somewhat bland, and celebratory closing. I've changed my mind. I'm not keeping up with the time. That's probably a little rude. But who are we here for? Who are we spending all this time for? You hear comments and the rhetoric that we just heard that are the talking points of the American Federation of Teachers, emailed straight from Randy Weingartner, right out of Washington, D.C. Is that fair of me to say? Yeah, because I can print them. It's incredible. It's incredible after all of the facts that we've laid out today that are irrefutable about the budget that we're advancing in the base bill for public schools and new public school money, historic new dollars for public schools in Texas and our Texas teachers. It's incredible that we would hear the rhetoric that we just sat through. I want to thank Governor Patrick for leading all over this state on this issue and standing for families, listening to families. Lieutenant Governor Patrick, thank you for that. I want to thank Governor Abbott for naming this an emergency item. 2 sessions in a row. An emergency item that we should work with urgency together. We have plenty of issues that we could oppose and vote opposite one another, separate from a bill that is weighted 80% within a framework to help special needs kids and income vulnerable kids have a fighting chance at a better education. That's amazing that this center aisle that doesn't divide us by party has nothing to do with a bill that helps kids dividing us by party. That's incredible. After all that discussion and debate, Senator Johnson quoted that 90% of those helped within this framework will come from private schools, even though the framework is 80% weighted for special needs kids and income vulnerable kids coming from public schools. How's that possible? That we would inject that kind of chaos into the media and on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, after we had all of those discussions about our intentions and what we've been doing for years to help kids that need help the most, when all of these national studies I'm depending on and conveying today that I've brought and cited, they're on my desk, show the incredible success for everything that was just refuted with no studies. Academic outcomes under school choice across the nation, better. Safety under school choice across the nation, better. State budget savings with school choice programs, better. Disabled students, families surveyed for their experience, better. Civic engagement, and these students becoming more and more involved in their community, better. integrated students and diverse student outcomes better. And by the way, those numbers for 74 school choice plans across 32 states are 50% white, 20% black, and 20% Hispanic, and growing on those numbers. Incredibly impressive. College readiness better. How can we toe the line for teacher unions and lobbyists paid $850,000 in this building at 141 days to create chaos among us when we're talking about kids and students? Governor Abbott's not traveling the state in every little town across Texas, gauging support for education options for students from families that may never vote for him because he feels like it's not urgent. It's unbelievable that we just sat through all of that commentary when for 51 years we've been voting as bipartisan, as members, to support Texas equalization grants that take Texas tax money and apply that Texas tax money to a public school student that is seeking a private school opportunity. Over $500 million that everyone on this floor that's going to oppose this bill today consistently votes for. And where are your bills to repeal it? Can't find them. Where are your bills to apply strings and requirements on all those private universities where those public dollars are headed? Where are they? We're pretty good at research. Can't find them. Incredible. Incredible toeing the line for politics on marching orders from a teacher organization that takes automatic dues deduction from everyday teachers that don't have the time. They have 11 minutes for lunch in Texas public schools, and they're responsible for a bunch of little humans during that 11 minutes. They don't have time to advocate like you can. But their automatic dues deduction is taken for that purpose, to pollute the corridors of this building and to create a bunch of manufactured fake garbage narrative that ultimately hurts opportunities for kids that we're trying to create out of the surplus. Schools have never properly been funded. I worked 4 special sessions on school finance as a 19-year-old in this building on the Senate Education Committee when I was in college. We had 40 years of drama and litigation tied to school finance, and public school stakeholders said for 40 years, until that litigation is over, they would not support school choice opportunities. That litigation's over. The funding we put forward last session, historic money on a 3X factor for what we normally do for public schools. Those same teacher organizations came into our hearings and said, if we can kill 40,000 school choice education savings accounts for special needs and income vulnerable kids, we'd rather not have new money for teachers. We'd rather not have new money for public schools. And my teacher bill of rights that many of you that are opposing this bill today voted against was graded bipartisan by many different sources and offered not only safety in our classrooms in this day and time, but offered a $10,000 pay raise for 83% of the teachers in Texas. And the rest of the delta was those teachers that were not getting the full $10,000 are already at the top of the pay scale. And you opposed it. And then it went over to the House, and it was killed by a Democratic member on the House floor by postponing it to 2029 after bouncing it around the House floor like a beach ball and having fun with it. Big smiles, big laughs. And our teachers were the ones that were hurt from it. Why does that matter when we're talking about a school choice bill? Because we're standing for public schools. That's fact. This is just a big old spoon and helping of truth. We're standing for public schools with incredible new dollars. We're funding enrollment, new growth, and incredible tranches for safety, special ed, all kinds of different funding initiatives that is just irrefutable as you close on this bill to create doubt and chaos at the expense of an 80% prioritization schedule for income vulnerable and the disabled. How? What are we fighting for? Mediocrity? Of course, our families are looking for choices. Of course, our families are asking, and isn't it amazing that they have to beg with the wealth of this state and the surplus that we have, and the fact that we're putting nearly $100 billion into public ed, and the fact that we put $39 billion new dollars into public ed over the last decade, while 76% of administrators were hired new, and 6% new teachers were brought on board. If you're voting no today, are you in your school districts talking about that? If you're not, it's a problem. Self-segregating. And you can't find a way to join in supporting this bill. That is lunacy. Standing for kids. We're going to provide more money for public schools. But in Houston Independent School District, without new funding and with 2,000 less administrators, since the state has taken over the district, with new processes, new curriculum, incredible accountability, teachers that are bought in because those that weren't are gone, and everyone working together as a team, 139 DNF-rated schools a year later, 121 DNF-rated schools, and a year later, less than 39. Oh, and a bond went down. Don't forget that. I think the classrooms that I've been sitting in were built in 1949 and have had a couple of chillers since then. Guess they didn't need that help. But with 2,000 less administrators and not much new funding, the outcomes for those kids that have been left behind for years and years are skyrocketing. And we have a chance to provide opportunities for more that are trapped in a zip code because politicians arbitrarily decided that. Even though public schools are allowed to charge an actual tuition bump if a public school student transfers into another public school, and they can require additional academic performance or say no. You want to talk about parity? A charter school, if it fails 2 years in a row, it closes. Does a public school? Who's fighting for that parity? Anyone got that amendment? I didn't think so. Members, each and every one of us on this floor are passionate about education. I'm showing my passion. This isn't a billionaire brought bill that I'm just hoping for a campaign donation. I'm okay to be sent home forever if my district doesn't care for this bill. I know what I'm doing here. I know why I was sent. And I know that I'm at peace if I'm on the front porch instead of another session. But that's not going to be the case. 77% of Republicans in Texas support expanded school choice. 51% of Democrats. Our offices are full of families begging us to get this done. But the teacher organizations don't want it. Yeah, less than 2% of public school students served. And across the nation, 32 states of school choice programs, 2.4% of public school students are currently served. This concept that it is somehow an effort to defund, destabilize, or create discrimination, or essentially destroy a public school, I can't imagine in a bill that we're talking about in helping those that need help the most with a path in education that kind of rhetoric would be used. I can't imagine it. I've been here a little while. I've not seen that, and I've seen a lot. A white kid bill, a rich kid bill, a coupon. Members, we're empowered by Texans to provide choices with the wealth of this state and to make decisions on their behalf in a responsible manner, being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. And we've got the framework. We've got a framework that other states that just passed ESA bills are regretting that they didn't have this model. This bill does not jeopardize public schools. In fact, the data shows that public schools have gotten better in other states that have expanded school choice. It is a tenet in American history that there is no greater way to improve a service than for those that may use that service to have the opportunity to exit. That is America. That's absolutely Texas. I hope that the House takes this legislation and passes the Senate bill quickly, and we go to conference and we continue to work to improve this bill every way we can, every day thinking more and more, how can we be better? I promise you, I'm doing that. I had hoped that we would have 31 votes on this bill. Again, we have plenty of opportunities to oppose other bills throughout this session. I want to thank the members of the committee that worked so hard to bring this bill to the floor, that worked so hard through 2023 to stand up for these kids, to listen to their testimony and the plight of their parents in committee. The work of our education committee and the work of this body, it matters. And it's sending shockwaves across the nation. States want to follow Texas. Texas should follow no state on education opportunities for those that need help the most. I appreciate your patience with my passionate remarks. Mr. President, members, I move final passage of Senate Bill 2.
Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton,